my expectations have been fully met, because what did I expect? I wanted to listen to the member states, what their views, what their concerns, what their ideas for this huge step forward in the regulatory framework are. And indeed, first of all, if you look back, it's a major success that no member state is questioning our goals anymore. So being climate neutral in 2050 and reducing greenhouse gas emissions by minus 55% in 2030 already, which is around the corner, is not at all questioned anymore. The only discussion we have is how can we best achieve that in the most cost-efficient, the most innovative, the fairest way. And that was very interesting for me to listen to that. So on the emission trading system, we all acknowledge that it works very well the way we have it installed with industry and with power generation. I mean, this is a huge success if you look at the numbers. We have looked at the effort sharing regulation, and there too, it's clear that we will keep the scope and we will keep the principles. That is important too, because these are principles that make, on the one hand, sure that there is fairness between member states and within member states, but also cost effectiveness and innovation. And then the different member states have emphasized, the different leaders have emphasized what is specific in their member state and where they want to put the accent on. For example, carbon sinks forests, one big topic. Or member states that have a lot of renewable energies or want to invest in renewable energies, and there the scope is very broad. But also those who have highly industrialized economies, for them it's important to have innovation for clean technologies and to prevent carbon leakage. So just to give you 3 examples of many, many other examples where leaders were explaining and describing where they see the emphasis and what is for them important that it is respected and included in our proposals. So I was very pleased that this was such a constructive discussion on the how we are moving forward. It's very clear that all sectors have to contribute. This is not questioned either. And that all member states have to contribute. And that we are also proud to be a market leader, front runner in developing clean technologies, and we want to keep that position, so that there's a lot of ambition to keep the speed, to keep the high level that we have in fighting climate change. So on the effort sharing regulation, the principles, not the percentage are the principles. The principles are that is GDP per capita based, for example, that it has to be cost effective. So these are the GDP per capita is a fairness element, and this is respected by all and approved by all. And therefore, of course, as the targets are higher, the ambition must be higher. So we have to use our tools to improve the amount of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions without any questions. But the guiding principle that there's a fairness element between the member states, this is relating, for example, to the GDP per capita, and that we're looking at cost effectiveness when moving forward, that we're looking at convergence because together we want to reach our overarching goals. This is without any question. The specific goal for each member state, of course, is depending on the raised level of ambition, and therefore for any member state the ambition also has to rise to decarbonize the sectors, and the sectors are road transport, it's building, it's agriculture, it's waste management, just to cover that. And then, yes, we have been discussing also the question of, you called it ETS enlargement, élargissement. I want to emphasize here, we have a very well-functioning system of ETS, as I said, in industry and power generation, with good effects. We are much better than we should have been with our former older targets. Now we are looking at how we can support member states in the effort-sharing regulation on roads and on buildings to reach their goals, because here we have not been so successful. If you look at the road sector, emissions have risen over the last years in the road transport sector. So we have to get better there. And therefore, the idea is to have complementary the introduction of an own separate emission trading system at a very low scale at the beginning, immediately coupled with a clear social compensation structure. So this has to go hand in hand because, of course, for us it's clear lower incomes cannot carry the burden. The burden has to be carried by those who are on the producing side, on the industry side, and on the higher incomes, without any question. But as we know that the CO2 pricing overall, the principle of ETS is the most fair and the most effective, it is worth to look deep into that. The emphasis indeed is on the social compensation, so it's a very clear tasking that we get that right, because this transformation has to be socially just, it has to be fair, otherwise it will not take place. A second emphasis was, and that is very good, to really be ambitious what innovation is concerned. There is so much music in that whole field. There's so much innovation potential, so much opportunities for our small and medium enterprises, for our economies, to really be at the forefront. This was one of the main discussion factors too. I think I have to be precise. It is one company, BioNTech Pfizer, that has submitted to EMA to approve their vaccine for the 12 to 15 years old. And we're expecting that EMA will decide towards the end of this month. Then we know that presumably Moderna will follow with the same submission, but so far it's only one company that has submitted to the European Medicines Agency. Now, the second part of your question, I think here it's completely clear we need scientific advice on whom to vaccinate, how to vaccinate, and in what order. So it's not a political decision, it's a clearly evidence-based scientific decision. As far as I understand science, so far the results have been very promising, and based on the evidence, I think the experts should lead these discussions, and then decisions can be taken. And the third part is of your question, the availability of vaccines or whom to vaccinate first or second. We have ahead of us in the year, towards the end of the year and in the year 22 and 23, three different challenges. The one is indeed the question of vaccinating the minors. And indeed, I know that there are clinical trials also ongoing with 6 to 11 years old. So the question will be out there. The second question will be, when is it necessary to boost, so to refresh the immunity? Is it necessary after 9 months? Is it necessary after 1 year? And the third question indeed is, are we prepared in case there is an escape variant and we need an adaptation of the vaccine and a re-immunization of a share of our population? And this was a main factor in the discussion too. We have, I quoted the numbers at the beginning, the amount of doses we have till the end of the year. And then we have an ongoing new contract of 1.8 billion doses that are available, so 900 million per year for these three different options. It is more than it is necessary, because this time we immediately ordered doses that can also go to our neighborhood, our friends and our partners.
Thank you, Madam President. And this concludes our press conference. The conclusions, the European Council conclusions have been published in the meantime, and our next rendezvous is on Thursday for the EU-Japan Summit. Thank you.